Hey guys, at Burnett Real Estate Co., we're always trying to find new ways to bring value to our friends, our family, and our clients. We were lucky to sell a lot of homes last year, and we realized that a lot of the questions that kept reoccurring were around insurance. From first-time home buyers to long-term investors, we realized we could all benefit from understanding insurance at a higher level. What better way to do that than to talk to an expert? So we invited our friend, Kevin Owens from Carlson Associates here locally in Gig Harbor to hang out with us and take some rapid-fire questions. We hope that you learn a lot. We know we did, and enjoy. All right, so we're here with our friend Kevin Owens from Carlson Associates, and we're ready to talk about insurance. So Kevin, can you quickly tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. My name is Kevin. I've been an insurance agent for about 5.5 years now. I work at a company called Carlson Associates, brokerage in Gig Harbor. You go by those green top buildings by the tolls. That's us. And yeah, no, I've been doing all kinds of different insurances. I've spread my wings over the whole market as far as I can, and just do my best to help people.
Okay, so let's narrow it down because we have a lot to talk about insurance. We're going to do a little series for everybody, and so we're going to start with something that relates to our life. Obviously, we're realtors, so we deal with a lot of folks buying a home for the first time. So first-time home buyers, usually beyond auto insurance, this is their first experience with insurance, right? Yeah. So let's just start with, why do I need an insurance agent in the first place? Why wouldn't I just call, Progressive directly?
Right, yeah. So, I'm kind of hearing that as, should I call a 1-800 number or should I get to an agent directly? And I know my preference would be to not navigate a 1-800 number. There's the situation of where you're getting the quote and accepting the quote and going through that. That's a big communication scenario with your agent, but there's also changes that happen over time. You move, you get new vehicles, what have you. I would certainly rather call somebody directly or email them directly rather than go through, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, 1-800 numbers and dial tones and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So how does someone go about finding their insurance agent?
Because Progressive's really easy. It's commercial.
Right.
Where do we find you? How do we find you?
I don't think Flo actually sells. I think she's an actress. So how do you find an agent? So there's a number of different ways. Obviously, this day and age, it's 2019, there's Google. I think people prefer a little bit of familiarity with who they're working with, though. The lender, when you're going through the mortgage loan process, the lender many times has some good contacts for you. People utilize their friends a lot, though, and I think that's a good way. If somebody were to help me and provide some value to me, I would certainly want to share that with my friends when they come into the same situation. You guys have sent me plenty, so the realtor will certainly help you out. Yeah, I think just asking a professional is a great way to do it. They've worked with them over and over and over again. That's a great way to do it, but friends can help too. I've been through.
Okay, so we're going through the process. We found our Kevin. Fantastic. Right. So, but when do we need to have this taken care of? I mean, obviously your lender's going to give you some clues, but ideally from your perspective as agent, when do we need to have this new home we're buying insured? Right.
So actually, as the perspective of the consumer, I would like to start shopping it and getting quotes as soon as my offer is accepted. Why not? My lender's got his paperwork to do or their paperwork to do, and they have their numbers to run. Instead of estimating what the cost might be, it'd be nice for them to have a quote that is dialed in and you've already shopped it a little bit. So earlier the better. The earlier what property you're going to be on, the better. Some people do procrastinate and wait till the loan is imminent. And that's okay, but that can cause problems at times. You got, I'm not a lender, but they got these debt to income ratios. They're trying to land on certain numbers, and if you wait till the last second, procrastinate, it's pretty disappointing for everybody involved who, when a home doesn't get closed down. You're talking about the buyer, but how about the seller? How about the realtors, the lenders, all these people that have put in work to get you this new home. Seems silly to not have your insurance quote in place, and that's why.
Yeah, absolutely. So aside from the lender requiring you to have homeowners insurance, why is homeowners insurance important?
Yeah, I would say a lot of different reasons. So thinking about the actual home, you put down hundreds of thousands of dollars in one form or fashion for this house. So if the whole place goes down and a tree falls or a fire occurs, I don't have $500,000 to rebuild a home and pay my mortgage at the same time. So if I'm going to pay for 2 homes, I better at least have one.
Mm-hmm.
So the insurance will help rebuild the home. And also we're talking about if people come over and sue you too.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of coverage do people need, or what are they generally looking at when they're getting homeowners insurance?
Yeah. The big number would be the replacement cost. That's that coverage A that you're going to see on your homeowner's policy. What is the limit of money they'll give you for a loss to the home? So basically the entire cost of the house to rebuild it is that coverage A. What kinds of coverage? You get into detached structures and personal property, loss of use if you have to go rent somewhere else, and also medical payments.
Okay, so we're kind of getting into more detail. So, like, what is included in a basic policy? Like, what the lender requires. So they're going to make you get this kind. What's that basic policy look like?
Right, yeah. So what you'll mostly see would be the A through E, the coverage A, that replacement cost. The other structures would be stuff that's off the primary premises. Say you got a mother-in-law spot or a very big warehouse, detached garage. Mm-hmm. Personal property is a big sticking point for people. Everybody's got their value of what they like with their stuff. Loss of use would be going to rent elsewhere if your home is out of service due to a fire. Medical payments, it's a small add-on, and then personal liability too. Getting sued.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of mentioned this earlier. Talk to us about replacement cost. How is that determined?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I bought it for $500, so you're just gonna give me a policy for $500? Like,
yeah, what is that?
Right, yeah. So the one thing that can be confusing is that what you buy the house for is not necessarily what the replacement value is.
What?
You got the land value. If I got several acres of land, I'm gonna buy a house for more, but the actual structure may cost less. On the flip side of that, I might be able to sell a log home for $1.5 million, but the actual replacement value might be much, much higher, just based on the way that has to get taken care of. A partial loss becomes a total loss with those types of homes. But it's a pretty intricate algorithm based on all the details of the home that each insurance company has their own systems that they use to come up with that value.
Okay, so do I have a say in what my replacement value is at all as homeowner?
Yes and no. No, in the sense you can't just arbitrarily go lower. If my home is coming in at $400,000 on the replacement value, as the consumer, I can't say, well, I'm comfortable with $300,000 and just go with that. Most companies aren't even going to allow you to go forward with that as a policy, and it creates big problems. If you have a partial loss, they're only going to cover part of the loss if you decide you want to do that. So you basically, it's not about being overinsured or underinsured. It's about being accurate there.
So going back to those basic policy items and referring to other buildings that you might have. So say there's an additional dwelling on the property, or a barn, or a shop like you mentioned. Are
just
those
specifically interested in the barn?
Yes.
Personal motive.
So are those things covered with the homeowners, or is that just for the primary residence that's on the property?
So I think you want to be aware that the detached structures are covered at 10% of the replacement cost. If I have a $300,000 home, I have $30,000 in replacement or in other structures coverage. You're allowed to raise that up. In some cases you can lower it. A lot of people don't have any detached structures, so you're kind of wasting money throwing money at a coverage like that. Only some companies, but if you have a high value $120,000 detached structure of any kind, you need to make that clear to the agent. The agent needs to see that. One or the other needs to happen, so you make sure that's covered.
Cool. All right. And I think you kind of touched on this as well, but if your home is out of commission. It burns down, out of service, can't be there.
Worst case scenario here, we're talking.
Your homeowner's policy will cover a portion of a rental or something like that.
Yeah. Generally, they'll give you up to 20% of the replacement value. If the place burns down, obviously you got to stay somewhere, whether it be the motor inn. On Point Fosdick, that was a personal thing. Our house burnt down.
Your mom makes you pay rent.
Yeah, we stayed at the motor inn. I don't think it's there at all anymore. It's uptown now. But yeah, or you go rent a home. They'll give you up to 20% of that replacement cost to be able to do that.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool.
So along that vein, my house burns down, totally out of commission. Do I have to rebuild that same house, or can I just go buy a new house?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually have never gotten that question, but it's a good one. I think it's a really good one.
The realtors would ask you that question.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes, but no.
I liked it, and then I liked it less.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Technically, you might find a company that might help you out there, but more times than not, you're going to be replacing the home that you lost. Reason being is because you got to prove how much it costs to rebuild that home. So $400,000 home, they're not going to just cut me a $400,000 check. They're going to rebuild the home, figure out how much it costs over time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to prove that. Give me $400 now.
Right.
To go get a new home.
Okay, so I'll just continue along the worst case scenario was fire. I don't know if y'all bought a couch lately. I just bought my first big girl couch. So I bought a nice couch, a sectional. I love it. I picked out the fabric, all those things.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned now about said couch. Is that covered?
Right.
What about my furniture? My clothes, those things, my shoes.
Yeah.
Like, are those covered in my basic policy, or do I have to insure my shoes separately?
Yeah, I think most agents would cover that. That's personal property. And they would cover it at replacement cost, meaning it not depreciated value, at what it costs to replace those items. So yeah, absolutely, that's covered.
Okay.
Cool. So to kind of wrap all this up, a first-time home buyer getting homeowners insurance for the first time might have questions about liability at their new residence that they are purchasing. Right. So if they have an awesome deck off the back of their house and they have the housewarming party and their buddy takes a spill off the deck and gets hurt, is there any form of liability that's covered with homeowners insurance?
Yeah, there's all kinds of coverage in there. I mean, you have your med pay, which is a smaller limit for that. But, if they're to sue or you're found liable, maybe it's not nailed down properly or something like that, and you're found liable for that issue. Maybe they're out of work too, and that can cost a lot of money depending on who you are. Yeah, that's that liability. That's stuff that you're deemed to be at fault for that you have to cover. And people can sue for a lot of things. It doesn't have to be reasonable. Even if it's silly and you're not found liable, you still have to answer to that. So you have legal costs involved with just making sure you're not liable. So all that stuff's covered under your liability there.
Yeah. I think it's a great conversation to have because there are so many things that homeowners insurance plays to. So I think we've got some good content covered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Kevin, thank you so much for hanging out with us and sharing your expertise. Thanks to all of you for checking us out, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next video. We'll grill you again about some more important insurance things. If you guys have any questions in the meantime, we will throw Kevin's contact information down in the comments. Of course, ours will be in the comments as well. So if you need anything, reach out directly. Otherwise, we'll talk to you soon.